So we did this presentation at the end of July 2022 to a live audience. And one of the questions that we asked them that would be really helpful for you to think about too is to think about the coolest person that you know and start thinking about what are the characteristics of that person that make you feel like they're cool. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about why we feel bad sometimes. And it's kind of counterintuitive, but it's about the ways that our bodies were built. And then we're going to talk about ways that we can feel good. So a little bit about us. We're Bounce Back Generation. We're a nonprofit that's dedicated to providing tools and training for youth to manage stress, trauma, and adverse childhood experiences so that we can help you build resilience for the challenging times that we are living in. We do not provide mental health diagnosis or treatments. We really encourage you to find mental health resources if you need them, particularly one-on-one resources, which can be really good. What we do is give you information so you can become a resilience builder so that you can get stronger for yourself and for others. Only do the activities that we're going to talk about today if you feel that it works for you. Don't push yourself to do something you don't feel comfortable with. So stress feelings are very uncomfortable, but they're actually a defense mechanism. So our brains are primed to keep us safe and protected. And if we've had a lot of adversity in our life, if you felt things that made you feel overwhelmed, things like adversity in your childhood or traumatic events that you went through, you can become very attuned or highly tuned to danger based on those past experiences. So what we want to help you do today is to find a balance, how to be alert to danger and protect yourself, but also not feel constantly like you're on alarm. So, from an evolutionary perspective, we were built to run from predators, to fight off anything that was threatening us, or to freeze, and that is to kind of go limp or to play dead. So, these are very kind of, primitive responses that come from the early stages of our evolutionary development. And today, our stressors don't really cause us to need to fight, flight, or freeze, although we may encounter situations that we do, but mostly they're about people. They're about our relationships with other people and how we are interpreting those relationships. And they can come from interpersonal interactions that you're having with an actual person, but they can happen online. You get told something online that feels terrible and you feel bad, or it can just happen from hearing the news, all the stressful things that happen around us. And the way that we feel it is both in our minds and our bodies. So what actually happens? So our minds pick up that, and our bodies too might also be attuned to pick up that something is feeling threatening. So let's say you got into an argument with a loved one, or you overheard someone gossiping about you, and that just sets your body into a feeling of needing to do something with it. It just feels really uncomfortable because your body is doing that, kind of primitive thing where it wants to fight, um, run away, or freeze. And what's happening in your body is that your body gets full of these hormones that help you to hyper focus your brain so you can focus on what's happening at the time and who you need to fight or run from. Your sight can get very sharp. Your hearing can also get really sharp. And that's why sometimes if you feel anxious, you might feel like you're hyper aware of everything that's going on, because you are. Your heart might race, your muscles get primed to ready to do something, so you can feel really tense in your body. Your digestion shuts down because you don't need to be digesting food if you're running or fighting. Your palms might get sweaty. So these are all just kind of really uncomfortable physical feelings. But we can also just have these physical feelings manifest in different ways throughout our day. We might get a headache, chest hurts, back ache, stomach ache. So physically we feel it, but also when we are constantly being stressed because consciously or subconsciously we are feeling threatened or vulnerable, it can make us feel bad about ourselves. It can make us feel like, I don't feel safe anywhere. I'm not comfortable with what's going on. Feel like you're the only one who's having those feelings. Like, why? What's wrong with me? And nothing's wrong with you. It's actually just your body trying to keep you safe and your mind trying to keep alert to what could be a threatening situation. So, in order to get ourselves back into a sense of balance, we need to do some things that help us to calm our body. And when we calm our body, if we think about calming our body first, we can often think about how we might calm our minds as well. So, I'm sorry, that's my dog scratching himself. um, so, what are some of your go-to calming techniques? Well, these are called coping skills, and they might be like, meditation, listening to music, hanging out with your friends, have talking to someone who you respect, who can give you good advice, eating well, doing some positive self-talk to yourself. Some people just stand in the mirror and talk to themselves, and just it's kind of a cool experience because you can kind of look at yourself in the eye and say nice things to yourself. Be supportive. Try to be your best friend. Sitting, reading a book, having a cup of tea. These are all really good coping skills. But we're going to talk about the fact that these are kind of the traditional things, and there's a lot of coping skills, and it happens to be very unique to each of us. So before we talk about positive coping skills, I want to just talk about what are some of the coping skills that we can reach for that may not be very healthy. Things like, if somebody gossips about you, so you turn around and gossip about them and maybe create drama. So you're always dealing with some kind of drama. That little speed sign is to, talk about some of the risky behaviors that we might do, driving too fast, maybe some risky sexual behaviors. Then we have smoking, drugs, junk food, alcohol. All of these things can make us feel good in the moment. They can kind of like be something we can reach for that instantly helps us to feel better. But the problem is, a good coping skill should help your mind and body feel in balance and help you feel better tomorrow. So if you're feeling good today because you did some kind of coping skill, ask yourself, is this coping skill going to also help me feel good, stronger, healthier, happier, more positive about myself tomorrow? And if it does, it makes you feel good today and even better or just as good tomorrow, then you know you found a good coping skill. So let's think about what are some of the coping skills that are special for you, because everybody's different. And the things that might work for me or your friend or your parent may not be good for you. So find the things that work for you. So get creative. And the only rule that we offer at Bounce Back Generation is, does it feel good today and even better tomorrow? So let's think about some techniques before we're going to give you some basic foundations with which you can think about what kind of coping tools might work for you. So here's one technique. So what happens when your brain and body get dysregulated because you are feeling overwhelmed by that conscious or subconscious feeling of stress, which comes from feeling vulnerable? You can feel like you're out of control because you're not controlling the fact that your body is getting all worked up to fight, flight, or freeze, right? But there's one thing that everybody has control over, and that's our breathing. So when you feel dysregulated, you feel like your body's feeling really bad, the first thing you want to do is stop and take a breath. So we're going to practice that. You want to stop and take a breath in through your nose for the count of 4, hold it for the count of 4, and then breathe out slowly from your mouth for the count of 7. So let's do a couple of those. So breathe in for the count of 4 through your nose, hold it for the count of 4, and slowly breathe out for the count of 7 through your mouth. And let's do another one. In for 4 through your nose, hold it for 4, and out for 7 through your mouth. And just taking those 2 breaths, feel what you feel in your body. Do you feel a little calmer? Do you feel a little tingly? Do you feel like your mind stopped racing maybe for a minute or a second while you're doing that? So what you're doing is you're starting what's called a practice, and that practice is taking control and management of your own breath. that is something that allows you to start getting your body back into the management of your brain. Like your brain's going to tell your body, hey, we're going to do this now. Because even though you're worked up, the brain's telling the body, you don't have to get worked up. I feel safe right now, or I feel safe enough, or I need to think and I need you to calm down so I can think. So the next step, kind of on, if you're going to kind of think about what you can do that can help you for a longer period of time, is let's say that you went on a stage and you did something that was, really uncomfortable for you, and you're about to go on a stage and do something really uncomfortable. Either way, you might have, this really bad feeling in your body, like, oh, my hands are shaking and my heart's racing and I'm feeling like I'm out of control. I don't know what to do. Here is a little trick that you can do to help get yourself out of what's going on in your body and into that calming state that your mind can offer. And that's called mindfulness. So, what you're going to do is you're feeling out of it, you're feeling dysregulated. So you want to take a breath, maybe two. And as you're breathing, you want to look around to what is around you and connect to your environment. Better yet, connect to yourself. So you might want to look down at your shoes. What's going on with my shoes? How many are my shoelaces tied? What kind of pants am I wearing? What color are the pants that I'm wearing? You're going to get into just focusing in on exactly what's going on at this very moment. And it's a surprisingly effective tool to use to just feel like, hey, I've got some control over my mind to stop it racing. And as I'm breathing, I'm starting to calm my body. Now, everything we're talking about is what we call a practice, because it might work the first time, but it may not work that well. But as you keep developing this skill, and you can do this anytime, you can do it even when you're not stressed, just getting into a state of mindfulness where you're just paying attention to, I'm breathing and I'm just noticing that I'm here right now. Because oftentimes when we get stressed out, we are being triggered by something that happened in the past that is being triggered by something that's happening now. So, oh, I have a really bad memory about something, and when that thing happened, there was the toast had burned in the toaster oven. So now every time I smell something burning, it takes me back to that moment when that terrible thing happened. So when we get into our mindfulness, we're just putting ourselves in this moment. And usually in this moment, everything is not out of control. We have the opportunity to put things into perspective right now. And that leads us to a final practice that we can all do, which is meditation. Now, a lot of people will tell you that, you need to meditate and you have to sit in a certain way. I've been meditating for many, many years, and I started and still do often lie down when I meditate because it's comfortable and it relaxes my body and it helps me to focus on my breathing and not focus on, like, oh, I can't, my back hurts, or I feel uncomfortable crossing my legs or whatever. So sit or lie down in a comfortable position. And by the way, if you're doing this while you're doing something else like driving, of course, you're not going to do this, but um, you want to sit or lie down in a comfortable position. Focus in on your breath, in and out. And then you're going to do a little expanded kind of mindfulness exercise where you're not going to look around the room. You're just going to notice what happens in your mind. Thoughts are coming in, thoughts are leaving. You might get wrapped up in a thought. You might be thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow or what happened yesterday. And all that is totally fine and normal. That's what happened. That's what happens when we, meditate, because we're always got stuff going on in our minds. So the thing to do in meditation is not try to stop all the thinking and I'm not supposed to have any thoughts. It's to just notice, oh, I'm thinking. There's a thought that just came in my mind, and then just let it go. And what that does is it helps you to recognize that there's a thinker that's over the constant thinking that we have all day long that's going on, and all the worries and the stressors and all the things about what's going to happen tomorrow, what happened yesterday. And you start to realize that there's a calm observer in you who is recognizing that you have thoughts, but is not the thoughts. So it helps you to kind of separate yourself from those overwhelming feelings that can come up. But this is, again, a practice. So over time, the more you do meditation, the more you build up that muscle that allows you to kind of step aside and say, I am feeling like this right now. And usually, when I feel like this, it helps to do this other coping skill, this coping thing that I do. Or you get into the part of your mind that solves problems. You don't want to solve problems necessarily while you're meditating because you want to have that opportunity to let your thoughts go. But when, in my experience, if I meditate, I have much clearer thinking and I'm able to solve problems more and not get wrapped up in the emotions of them. So I urge you to try those three techniques: breathing, mindfulness, and meditation. And then there's another technique that for some people is more effective than meditation because of everybody's unique and everyone has a different way of experiencing stress and releasing stress. And that method is to move. Move your body, go dancing, do stretching or yoga, go on a hike, do sports, whatever it is, or you can just sit and just move your body in whatever way feels comfortable for you and see how that helps to release your tension. Another thing that I know works for a lot of people is go take a walk and get on your cell phone and talk to a dear friend who is there to help you. Or listen to music or listen to a podcast, things that make you feel positive and good and get you out of that feeling of I'm trapped in my thoughts and I'm trapped in my problems or I'm trapped in my body feeling bad. So, how do you make up your own coping skills? Well, first, you want to get a coping skill that does something around helping your body to release its tension. And whatever that is, that's your bath, I go get a massage, I go on a run, I lie down on the sofa, whatever it is, just pick out something that helps your body to relax. And then you want to get out of your head cycle, that constant thinking and all worrying and all of that. So that's where you calm your mind and you do something that's meditative. Now, you don't have to meditate in order to be meditative. If you do something that you really love, like art or making music or, putting together models or Legos or playing video games, even anything that gets your brain so it just calms down and kind of zones out a little bit so you're not stuck in that treadmill of worry and thoughts, all of that can help you. And that will help you then to get to the ultimate goal of our coping skills, which is to calm your body, clear your mind so that you can infuse some positivity in there. Think about positive mindsets, care how you want to be cared for and how you want to care for yourself. Thinking about things that make you feel grateful, focusing on what you want in goals or dreaming about the things that you want to happen, getting into that place where you can problem solve and feel safe and protected. Thinking about if I'm feeling vulnerable, what are some ways that I can start to help myself not feel so vulnerable and feel more safe and protected in my environment? And, really what you're doing is getting to something called executive thinking. That's where you have that space in your mind where when you're relaxed and your mind is clear, you can start setting goals, you can dream about what you want, you can make plans, you can infuse positivity and gratitude, set your intentions, problem solve. This is also how we get homework done. So if you're having trouble getting homework done, it's because and especially for young people, for teenagers, and even into our 20s, we're not fully developed in our executive thinking. We're more into how we're feeling. And so this is just like a practice and exercise to help you start to develop more of that part of your brain, which gets you into setting goals. So finally, just to wrap it up, we often in our society spend a lot of time thinking about and talking about what it feels like to feel bad. But we need to be just as aware of what our body and our minds and our experiences are when we feel good. And think about what are the quote unquote symptoms of feeling good and what that means in terms of feeling good today and feeling even better tomorrow. That you want to have something that you can do that gives you a long-term feeling of feeling good, that thinks about your body, thinks about your brain, and finds a way to balance the two as you stay safe, as you think about the things that make you feel vulnerable about. And when you find out what those things are, you get kind of curious about, hey, what makes me tick? That's when you have some idea of what you want to do. If you want to work further with like a therapist, or talk to someone who you trust, who can be a good mentor, then you can really frame what are some of the things that you want to work on. So positive self-talk is important, finding places where you feel safe, finding ways that you're able to calm down and think, and finding space in your experiences where you can plan to make your dreams come true. And that's what we want for Bounce Back Generation, for everyone who participates in our programs. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation and have a great day.